I feel like communication is very important. Like how we communicate is important. Comprehension is also important too, because you can communicate to me. If I don't comprehend, then it's like I'm not going to understand where you're coming from. I'm not going to see the layers, and I can only go so far. But I also feel like we all deal with communication differently. So where you might be a person that's like, I want to talk right now. Talk to me now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't.
Yeah.
I'm freezing. My whole nervous system's freezing now. It's in fight or flight. It's freezing. I don't have the capacity to talk to you right now. Give me an hour. Give me a day. No.
Yeah.
Let's deal with it now.
Yeah.
And then that puts pressure on the person that actually wants to take a moment to think about it.
Yeah.
Where it's bringing me to another space now where, for me personally, I would rather go for a walk. Walking, it's like that catharsis, which it literally moves the energy through the body and releases any pent up energy, releases any emotion, releases all of that that I'm feeling. So it's like a purging that's happening when I'm walking. And then this is why I say the person that wants to talk right now, sit down and write down what you want to say. Let them go, whether it's an hour or a day they need. Write what you want to say on a piece of paper. You'll notice that half of the stuff that you've written, you don't even want to say because you're talking from emotion. You're speaking from a space of where I'm hurt. You don't understand. You're speaking from a wound now. And more than likely that wound ain't even got nothing to do with this person. But now you're projecting. So when you're writing all of this stuff down and then you say, okay, read that back to the person now.
Wow.
Well, I don't really want to say that bit, and I don't really want to say that bit. Now you're going to be picking all of these little bits that you don't actually want to say.
Yeah.
Or need to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you find communication has reared its ugly head, I'm going to say, not in a positive way?
Yeah.
How has it reared its ugly head in your relationship?
In my relationship, wow.
Because having a child, that has to change the dynamics.
Absolutely. And I think having a child, you're pushing yourself to your limits and you're pushing your partner to your limits. You are going to the depths of what you can handle. You know, you aren't sleeping at all. So, you know, and it is literal torture, you know, when you are not sleeping. So you are not as able to emotionally regulate yourself and emotionally regulate for your partner. So the levels of communication in my relationship, it definitely got to a place where we're now, like you say, throwing our hurts at each other. You know, we're shouting at each other. We're showing the kind of, you just not being who you want to be, essentially. And I think it's just funny to be in that place and to grow in that place, you know, and to actually see it for what it is. And I think what has helped me and what I've found to have in that space is always to have something grounding, you know, a grounding practice or something to come back to all the time. Something that I always held true and strong onto the whole time was, no matter how we're feeling, no matter how much we don't like each other, we're always going to list off, you know, 3 things that we're grateful for, you know, 3 things that we love about each other. Just always reminding each other that that is what we actually think and how we actually feel, and that what we're throwing around is a result of our circumstances right now. And it was at the time, you know, it doesn't feel like it's doing anything. But now coming out of it, like, I really feel like, you know, those are the things that really, like, were part of, you know, with the magic of keeping us and helping us to grow. And also it was brilliant to see how far we would actually go, so that we could build boundaries around our relationship. I have certain boundaries about, and this is again from my own experience, about how men behave around me. I have certain boundaries about words that they use, which you've heard before. Like, I don't tolerate, like, being called names or being spoken to, like, in, like, a derogatory way in any way, shape or form, especially in anger. And that's just something that I hold, like, as a really strong value. And this part of our life really put that to the test. And what I learned about men just from living with a man at that time was that men what I now think about men is that men learn through experience rather than being taught like through words. Um, and just one of the things I was trying to speak to my partner about was his physical movements in anger. I was just saying to him, like, you can't move as much as you think you can in anger because you are stronger than you think. And if you act in a certain way while you're angry, things can happen. And there was a moment where he was at the top of the stairs and he had like a plastic bag. I think he was like, you know, like tidying up or something, had a bin bag. And in frustration, he threw it down the stairs, but he didn't realize that I was coming up the stairs at the time. And I said to him, these are the things that this is the thing that I mean. Like, you don't know what could have happened at that time. That could have been our child, you know, a toddler walking up the stairs and something could have happened. And like, you know, now they're falling down the stairs. And it was like those pinpoint moments where he was like, oh, I understand now. You're not just trying to control me and tell me I can't move in a certain way. It's like, no, you actually have certain responsibilities with the power that you have. And you have to kind of take that on, you know.
Simone,
Right.
you are smashing it right now.
Yeah, it's a whole journey, you know.
You just spoke such a powerful, powerful paragraph right there. Wow. I'm not even going to direct it at either one of you. I'm going to see who wants to interject at this moment.
Oh,
I would love to speak after Johnny as well.
I'll keep it brief. I think that what Simone shared was very powerful. Men have responsibility because, you know, we have 10 times the bone density of women. You know, it's like, yeah. What I really wanted to share, and I'll pass it on to Steph, was you were talking about speaking from your wounds. Who said that? Was that you?
Yeah,
I mean, here's the thing, right? And I know Steph will agree with me on this and have her own thoughts, but I think it's all about speaking from your wounds. It's just that if it's an open wound, it's going to say one thing. But if that wound is a scar, it's healed.
Right.
I got scars from when I was a kid.
There's wisdom.
They're here.
Yeah.
They haven't left me, but they're healed. They don't hurt. I can speak from them, and they'll speak more Yeah, I think they'll speak more powerfully, but they'll speak very differently, whether they're healed or.
Wow. Like, yeah, we need to talk. We need to talk. Wow, that's so powerful. There's one thing that I implement in my household, because I live in a household with 3 other women. And we're all Christians. We all go to the same church as well. And so this thing that I implement is called safety circles. And safety circles just basically bring us together. Like, we have a WhatsApp group. Hey guys, I need a safety circle. And that safety circle indicates that there's a lot going on in the heart that I need to speak about without being judged. Right? So,
Wow.
you know, that, I don't know, there's a meme going around saying, we listen, we don't judge. It's pretty much like that. And so we all get together and we share everything that we're going through or struggling with in that moment in time. And I'm inspired by, I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard this story, but Jesus basically met a woman at the well, right? A Samaritan woman. At the time, women, you know, coming out at a certain time of the day to go to the well and all those kind of things would be frowned upon. And it's actually recorded as the longest conversation in the Bible that Jesus ever had with anyone, and that was with a woman. Why? Because women, we need to talk, right? And so Jesus holds space for that woman to speak, you know, and obviously then tells her about her whole life, where she's like, "What? You're a prophet? Hey, you're a prophet? Like, how could you just sit here and tell me that I've got 5 husbands? How do you know?" Right? And so I just think that's really important, because as women, we know we need to talk. We need to let off steam, you know, not through how a man would, you know, physically, but emotionally. And so I find that quite healing for myself, healing, and I see how much it's also healed the sisters in the household as well. Because at the end of the day, we keep so much in at the same time, but then we don't really give ourselves space to let out. And so I've forgotten the point or the question, but I think the point what I want to land on is that it's necessary to talk.
Mm.
Even this conversation that we're having now is helping me to even like reflect on things in my life. You know,
Yep,
like
same.
Johnny said, we speak from our wounds, full stop. You know, whether it's open or whether it's closed. Yet we're still speaking.
Yeah.
But one thing that I also want to share is that when a man and a woman are together and there's not a source in the center, it's your relationship is being kind of built on shaky grounds, because it's like, what is the foundation then? Everyone has boundaries, right? Because everyone has wounds, everyone's been hurt, but we need a foundation to stand on at the same time, you know, because for example, I've recently gotten into a relationship myself. Now, I haven't dated a man in 17 years, and I'm like, this is brand new.
Sorry, but why?
This is brand new. You know, how do I even navigate this space, you know? Because I, for one, yes, had testosterone, kind of know how men think, not everything, but kind of. But then I'm like, I need to also play my role so that we can complement each other.
Yeah.
But I have to learn how to be a woman biblically before I can even come into this relationship. There's certain aspects of myself that I need to also address, certain areas, such as, for example, I did have a conversation with him the other day, and I said, hey, look, listen, you know, these same-sex attraction feelings are not dormant within me, you know? They're still very much there. However, my desire to please God is so much more than those feelings, right? And so I needed to let you know that so you're not in the dark. That's me just really being transparent with him. But if I didn't
Wow.
have God, like, I wouldn't even share that with him. But he's like, I accept you fully. And I'm like,
Oh,
wow.
this is just so cute.
I was just like, oh my gosh, wow. Like, you fully prepared yourself for every, because my life is out there on the internet, by the way. So he's kind of fully prepared himself for everything
Wow.
that he's going to take on board with me. I'm not your usual type of woman because I've had surgeries, you know? You know, say we go down that route, for example, like of marriage, like you got to be prepared for the fact that I ain't going to give you any kids. You know, how's that going to make you feel? Right. And so what I really value in, you know, relationships with one another, whether that be men and women, is transparency, is honesty. It's building your foundation on solid grounds. We build our relationship on the Bible, and that's what helps us to be real. Because Jesus is like, you better be in the light about everything so that you're not building your relationship on a lie or deceit, you know? So I just wanted to share that as well, because I know that coming together as a man and a woman is a lot.
Yeah.
Because you're not just carrying your own, you're also carrying somebody else's, you know? But you got to bring your whole self, not just half, you know?
Yeah.
Like what Johnny said.
I feel like a lot of people are scared to be transparent
Mm-hmm.
of how they feel or where they're at or what they need and what they want and what they can bring. And I hate the whole, what do you bring to the table?
Oh,
Like,
boy.
I can't stand that line, I'm not going to lie. But sometimes we have to observe, like, what baggage are you bringing with you, you know? What things do you bring with you that can actually cause this to break if you're not strong enough to actually deal with it, or you're not wanting to? Because sometimes you'll probably look at a relationship and be like, no, I've been with somebody who's distant already. I'm not going into that again. Like, I know what it's like to be with a distant partner. And that was interesting because I love my space. I'm very much a hermit, but it can put me into deep hermit mode, which is not healthy for me. So I don't need a partner that's completely distant, because then I notice that there's certain levels of self that are not being fed. There's certain emotional needs that I have that are not being fed. It's just like, yeah, I'm just over here doing what I do. You do what you do. And it's like, is this actually a partnership?
Yeah.
What is this? Like, I actually just in a relationship with my friend, but it was an experience that I had. Now I know that I don't want that again. So if I see that in someone else, I'm like, I'm kind of going to highlight this. And if I see it again, now it's like, okay, this is who you are. It's whether I accept it or not is the thing. So I love the transparency that you clearly showed. Like, even with the fact you said, oh, same-sex relationship, like, attraction is still there. I loved that, because some people would have been like, that's not for anyone to know.
Yeah.
That's just a thought that's still in my head. Like, why do I need to tell him that? But you was honest. And I rate that.
I think real intimacy is rooted in truth. Yeah, and speaking the truth to each other.
Real intimacy is rooted in truth.
Yeah.
I love that line there.
Wow.
We should do some t-shirts with that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think what you're saying about a foundation to relationship is something that I find really important as well. I don't have a specific religion to base it on, but I did grow up with Christianity around me, and my partner grew up very Christian as well. He isn't anymore, but we are very spiritual people, and we do honor that there is something higher than us that is more important than our relationship. You know, that we have a
Come on.
purpose in ourselves, in our own growth, and in our own responsibility here on this planet. And I think that, you know, what you're saying about that foundation, I think it is very, very important, because though anything can fall apart at any time. Like I said, we had that time where we're both completely dysregulated, but we have something to come back to. Like, we know why we're here.
Wow.
We know why we're doing this. We know that we are now seeing each other in a place where we really don't want to be seen. You know, I don't want to be seen this way. You don't want to be seen this way, but
Yeah.
we are seeing each other, and we still love each other, and we still accept each other. And that's something that he has actually found a lot easier than I have. I have found it quite difficult to be the full spectrum of myself, and accept all of that, whereas he has been very much like, I knew I wanted to accept you, like, from the get-go. But I do put that down again to that relationship between men and women that has been broken down over time, that trust. I feel like I've found it very hard to trust him as a person, just because of all of my preconceptions of what a man is. And I think he's had elements of that too. But I think we are very excited about the unfolding of the journey anyway, and not worrying about whether we're there or not now.
Yeah.
It's quite nice to just kind of be here and see where we are in 10 years' time, you know, for 20 years' time, and just know that the goal is that we are trusting and loving each other more all the time.
I love that.
Johnny?
Yeah, I would love to jump in. You know, I think what's on my heart after hearing you guys share, I mean, this really for me is getting to the core of the issue when it comes to trauma, intimacy, men and women relating with each other. It's that you have to have this common ground. And obviously, you know, for me and Steph, that common ground is God, right? Who is not just a person to talk to, but three people. Three divine people, one divine essence, okay? So the reason why that's so powerful is because, and I'll use my own life to illustrate, you know, the need for intimacy cannot actually be met by a human being. A single human being cannot give us what we're craving, and that includes ourselves, you know? And this is something that literally, like, in the last 2 months, I've been learning, which is I'm seeing how I wasn't even being intimate with God for you know, for the first 3 years of my Christian walk. And when I say I wasn't being intimate, I was, but it's now a new sort of realm has opened up where I'm like, okay, this is like a different stage of the journey where I see my need to bear all of myself before the only person that can actually handle it, right? I don't think people are meant, because there's a lot to be said for holding space, but I think we can say things to people that, you know, we might say, oh, we don't mean to say that, but in many ways, when we're angry, when we're lashing out, that's the real us. And if people hear that, that can ruin relationships.
Wow.
And it's not deceit to be like, okay, I'm going to cast this onto God in prayer and then not bring it to the table. Because we all have our own wounds, and, you know, I could say something that, you know, my partner could say something to me that is like water off a duck's back. But I could say something to her and it, you know, she could never trust me again, right? So what I'm getting at is that we need to address this need for intimacy with God, and it's going to take the stress off relationships.
Ooh. We going there today. We're going there today.
Diving deep.
Deep Dive podcast is like deeper dive. Yes, we are going deeper and deeper as the moments go on.